So massive thanks. I'm going to be online quite a few times today. I think it's going to be the most in any day if the technology works. I'm going to be hopefully with Saif Derzi in just the next few minutes. Saif's going to be on a panel this coming Monday morning. So I'm just waiting for Saif to come on board this morning. So massive thanks for those of you joining myself. Look, I'm going to be with Richard Thorpe this afternoon or this morning as well. Sam Norris, Grace Ballantyne. So look, lots of those are going to be involved in the upcoming events, and in fact all of them are. As I say, join myself throughout the day. Today it's almost like going to be an Instagram marathon. They're not going to be long sessions, literally about 15 minutes each, maybe shorter, maybe longer. As I say, I'm just waiting for Saif to come on board from SDGB Properties. So hopefully any second now he's looking and connecting. That's the plan. Good. So as I say, this afternoon and throughout the day, it's a marathon in terms of being online, in terms of interviews with property investors, property financiers. There's me. It's joining myself. So hopefully any second now. In fact, I'm going to be joined by Safe's business partner. Well, I say business partner, it's partners and property partner really, rather than business partner, Ashley Richmond. Safe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, brilliant. So Saif, you're going to be on the panel coming up on Monday morning, which is focused on trading. Now, for my listeners out there, can you let them know a little bit about yourself? Because I think you're brand new to my events in terms of being on a panel. So I've got the Jay Howard, who's been on more panels than I've ever been on, by a long way. Ross Harper, Jack Jiggins as well. So brand new to my events. I know I've done a podcast interview with yourself last week. I'm just going to move location, whether that's my signal dropping or your signal. I'm not sure which one.
Apologies about that, Bruno. I think that should be better now.
Okay, brilliant.
Can you hear me now?
So Saif, yeah, loud and clear. So for the listeners out there who've not come across you before, just a little bit about your background. I was just explaining that you're going to be on the panel next Monday morning. So every Monday morning I've been going live, I think for the last 8 weeks, maybe 9. It's easy to lose count, to be fair. I hadn't expected to be going online every Monday morning. It's just the way it worked out, to be fair. So just a little bit about yourself, Saif. I know people can check out the interview we've done on my podcast. I know you've done a number of other podcasts as well.
Sure. So I guess I've been a landlord for around 5 years. Prior to that, I had sort of a non-property business. And sort of within the last 2 years, really, I've started to scale up my property business. So I don't specialize in any one area. We do everything from property trading, investing, and development as well. And I've deliberately set things up that way because we look at every single opportunity that comes our way. We don't say, well, we can't do this because this isn't within our speciality. So probably bought the best part of 50 properties in the last sort of couple of years, bought and sold them anyway. Probably sold about 20 of them and held about 30 of them. So yeah, from my perspective, it was sort of I was sat on the sidelines trying to watch, see how things are in the property industry, how things work. And then I went in and basically figured out a model that worked for me and scaled that up.
So what was your, and as I said to the listeners, it's just a short interview this morning. What was the key turning point which made you from being an observer to being an active investor?
I guess for me, it was more a case of when I first went into the market, I just thought, okay, let's test the market out and let's see how things go. My personal thought, so this was back in 2015, and it's funny how you look back on time as well, but back in 2015, I thought there was maybe, and I was quite naive at the time, obviously, I thought maybe there's a recession around the corner, things looked pretty heated in terms of the property market, and things just kept on going up and up and up. And I sort of waited around about a year, and then I said, right, okay, do you know what? there's no point of me trying to time the market. I don't really know how to time the market. I don't understand the market. Let me get into the market to try and understand it more. And I moved to Lincoln back in 2017. There was a few, I was actually looking at a city centre flat at the time. Well, it wasn't a flat, it was sort of one of these student pods. And luckily I didn't actually end up buying it, because the agent themselves then said to me, well, we've got 2 repossessed student HMOs coming onto the market. So I would say that's a much better investment for you. So I looked at them, bought them, and probably just started to learn more about HMOs from there. And the key pivotal moment for me was when I left the Lincoln market and I went into sort of other non-Article 4 areas in terms of HMOs. And I sort of scaled up a business with regards to HMOs. It was professional HMOs, but it wasn't a business that I wanted. It was, it was a lot of hard work. It was really hard work to try and get the rooms filled, keep them filled. And for me, the pivotal moment was when I said, right, we don't have enough in the bank. We can't sustain to continue to refurbish these and buy these. What I'm going to do now is start selling a lot of these assets. So sold some of those, really enjoyed the trading aspect of it. And since then, sort of never looked back really, just started buying and selling rather than just sort of buying to hold. Within the last year, I'd say, Brendan, was the only time I started to think more about holding, just because I thought, right, if we get another coronavirus-like situation and I can't trade within those environments, then I need to have some kind of baseline income.
So look, the auctions industry's changed a lot. I was listening to Adam Lawrence last few days. It was fascinating listening to his sharing. I don't know if you take this viewpoint as well. He was saying people are using the business loans now and using that in the auction market, and that's why he thinks the auctions market has been a bit more buoyant in the last few days. I hope I'm saying this correct, Adam, so if I'm saying it wrong, apologies, but do you see that being an issue as well? Do you think people are using the loans, and that's possibly why the auctions market in the last week has been much more buoyant than normal? I was listening to JMPR this morning as well. They were surprised at I didn't write down the details, but how much a piece of land or a development had gone to, that they thought was way overpriced. So do you think that's
So I see a lot of things from the ground, basically. So I see a lot of things from the trader's perspective. I see a lot of things from the sort of larger cash buying companies' perspectives, and they're the ones that sort of start to move with the market the quickest, I'd say, right? So what we've been seeing recently, I'd say, and this was before the bounce back loans even came in, is a lot of money sat on the sidelines from, I think it was all the way back from sort of the whole Brexit situation. We saw that money come back in Q1 2020 because people got bored and people had that sort of post-celebration period of, well, Brexit's done, even though fundamentally it wasn't. They had that. So we had that optimism back in the market. We're starting to see people's mindset shift in terms of what they're investing into. I mean, was it yesterday that the UK sold its first negative yield bonds? So that's telling you a lot about the market, in the sense that the market's not feeling a lot of security within maybe stocks, within shares, maybe even within other asset classes as well. I think property is a very, very solid asset class for people. And when people look at the fundamentals of property, and a lot of the stuff that people have been buying recently in auctions that I've seen anyway, is properties where they're buying it way under their reinstatement value. So in order to actually rebuild that property, probably going to cost you 3 times what you paid for it anyway. So a lot of people see security in that kind of asset class. So I think that's just giving people a lot of sort of confidence to come into the property market. The other thing is, yes, there is bounce back loans. I don't think necessarily bounce back loans are feeding directly into property necessarily. Some of them are, but they're feeding into businesses. And then the business owners are saying, right, okay, well, now I'm a bit more confident because my business isn't going to go under in the next couple of months. Now let me start investing some of my personal money into property, right? So that's what I see in terms of what's happening on the ground anyway.
So, Saif, how can people reach out to you? I name dropped actually Richmond there. So Ashley and you run the Manchester Partners in Property. Ashley's going to be on my conversational panel tomorrow, which is tomorrow. Yeah, time is flying.
It is tomorrow. It's Friday, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to be on my panel tomorrow afternoon, first time, but really impressed when I heard him at the event which you organised, I think a month ago now.
Yeah.
So look, just a heads up. You know Ashley a lot better than I do, because I've only been recommended him earlier this year. So just a literally heads up for people considering joining me tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I've got Ashley. I have to admit, I can't remember who else. Sam Loney and Kunni Barker. So
Sure.
just a little bit more.
I think there's a lot to like and a lot to respect about Ashley. He's the type of guy that doesn't really shout out about what he's doing, so he's quite underrated from that perspective, and I think that's quite a nice character to have as well. So from my perspective, he knows everything about sort of construction, project management. He also understands what the larger developers' mindsets are and how they're thinking, which is really, really crucial for people. And if people want to get ahead of the curve, if they're doing developments or if they're doing any kind of construction, I mean, it's really worth speaking or listening even to him, because he's got a lot to say about the industry, and he's always ahead of the industry in terms of what we see on the ground anyway.
So look, just a heads up, in Partners in Property Manchester, is there a particular day of the month when it takes place virtually?
So we've not actually got it as a location specific event anymore. So we run ours with the Bristol Partners in Property. So we run it as a sort of joint event. And our next event is actually tomorrow. So it's tomorrow at 9:30. So if anyone does want to sign up or join, please just drop me a message, and happy to send you the link to that. We're actually running around about 2 meets a month at the minute. And we've got Facebook Lives by every single sort of partner slash host as well every single day, which is quite, I think it's packed full of value. We started a evening meet as well, because we realised that not many people can do the day meet. So we started an evening meet, and that launched yesterday, which was really successful, to be fair.
Sure. So that was with Jay Howard, who's on the panel with yourself, and Ross Harper Monday. It's interesting. Look, I look at the numbers in terms of who's coming along to my events and what topics are really of interest, and it's really looked like trading has ramped up interest. I have to admit, it's not the biggest passion of mine, trading, compared to the likes of Jay, who's been involved in trading and auctions for Auction House London, Auction House UK, Ross Harper for National Property Auctions at Auction House Scotland, and I probably missed out some other organisations as well. Look, I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions, and I'm delighted that Aaron Yahara is going to be chairing the panel, asking the questions rather than myself. So it's me who's much more of the organiser. How can people find more about yourself? I know we've done a podcast. You've also been interviewed, I think, by Tej as well. Of Talks, is that right? Yeah,
correct. Yeah. And I've recently done a podcast on inside property investing, to be fair. That was probably my most recent podcast, and probably my most value-packed podcast as well. But beyond that, I've then done the podcast with you.
Can I ask you, Saif, what made it the most value?
Mainly to be honest with you, Brendan, mainly because they have a wide audience. So I wanted to make it as relatable as possible to people, and also as raw as possible as well. So a lot of people just wanted to hear the ins and outs, wanted to understand, like you've just asked me now, why I've pivoted, what happened. And I always say things as it is, to be fair. So a lot of people got a lot of raw content from that, and that's what I'm starting to deliver more on social media as well. But yeah, if anyone does want to get in touch, I'm on Instagram on SDGB Properties. I'm also on Facebook.
One quick question. SDGB Properties, have I got that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Where does that name come from? I was just curious.
It's not really that original, to be fair. So SD is my name, Saif Derzi, and GB is my wife's name, Gina Bacco. So we just decided SDGB Property. I'm one of these people, Brendan, that when I first started things, I didn't think about branding, I didn't think about the name. I sort of just started something and I just ran with it. I was so immersed in the property side of things and the business side of things that I didn't think about this stuff. And it's now when I'm sort of, I've got people on my team that's starting to think about all of this stuff. Now I'm thinking, okay, why did I pick that? But, we've built the goodwill up in that name, so we're continuing it. We're trying to change our branding slightly in terms of our color palettes, our logo as well. We're going to be playing around with that. But now we've decided that branding is really, really key, so we're going to start to work on that more.
Safe. I did promise it would be 10 or 15 minutes. I think I don't have a time count or anything, but I know you've got a call to take at 10. So I just want to say massive thanks to listeners. It's a bit of a marathon session for me today on Instagram. I like the ease of it, to be fair. I don't have a mass following. I'd love to have a mass following like most people would, but I think I've got 4 more interviews coming up today. Richard Thorpe, Sam Norris. So Sam Norris from the funding side, Richard Thorpe from coaching, Grace Ballantyne from the development side. I think I've got another interview with Sam Loney from the funding side. So really massive thanks to those who have taken time out today and those who've taken time out over the last few weeks as well. Because as I say, I'm new to Instagram Live, relatively new. So massive thanks, Saif.
Thanks a lot for that, Brendan. Really appreciate it, and look forward to A, your event tomorrow, and B, chairing the event on Monday.
Yeah, Monday morning. So brilliant. Thanks, Saif. Bye
Thanks
for the moment.
Cheers.